Welcome to Daily Dose. Today, we explore one of the most chilling and unsolved mysteries in American history, the Villisca Axe Murders of 1912. This story involves brutal killings, a cloud of suspicion that looms over a small Iowa town, and a legacy that continues to haunt the minds of many even today. On the night of June 9th, 1912, in Villisca, Iowa, a small, quiet town of fewer than 2,000 people, something horrifying happened. 8 innocent lives were brutally taken. The victims were the Moore family, Josiah, his wife Sarah, and their 4 children, along with 2 young friends who had been staying with them, the Stillinger sisters, Lena and Ina. They were all slaughtered in their sleep, killed with an axe. The crime scene was grotesque. The murders took place in the Moore family's modest farmhouse, a house that stood on 2nd Street, surrounded by other houses in a tight-knit community. When the bodies were discovered, the killer had taken deliberate steps to cover their tracks. The axe, which was found at the scene, was believed to have been taken from the Moore's own barn. The murderer had not only killed the victims, but also covered their heads with bedclothes and left the house in a state of eerie silence, making the crime even more chilling. The brutality of the murders was compounded by the fact that no one heard a thing. The neighbors who lived close by were unaware of the killings taking place right next door. The silence of that night is as haunting as the crime itself. Despite the horrific nature of the crime, the investigation into the Villisca Axe murders seemed to go nowhere. Over the years, several suspects were considered, but no one was ever convicted. One of the prime suspects was Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher who had been in Villisca at the time of the murders. Kelly's behavior raised red flags. He had been seen near the Moore household on the night of the murders, and his strange behavior during questioning made investigators suspect he knew more than he let on. Kelly was arrested and put on trial, but the case against him was circumstantial at best. He was eventually acquitted, and the mystery deepened. There were other theories over the years. Some suggested that the killer was a local man named Frank Jones, a businessman who had been involved in a bitter feud with Josiah Moore. Others pointed to an unknown drifter, a man who may have been passing through town. But despite the countless theories, no definitive evidence ever linked anyone to the crime. The lack of closure left a dark stain on the town of Villisca. To this day, the murder house stands as a reminder of the tragedy, and it has become infamous for another reason: ghosts. The Villisca Axe Murder House is said to be haunted, with reports of strange noises, eerie feelings, and even sightings of shadowy figures. Some claim to hear the sounds of children laughing or the footsteps of an unseen presence. Others believe the spirits of the victims still roam the halls, seeking justice or peace. The house has drawn paranormal investigators, tourists, and curious minds from all over the world, eager to catch a glimpse of the supernatural or perhaps unravel the mystery that has haunted Villisca for over a century. But what is it about this case that has captured the public's imagination for so long? It's not just the horrific nature of the crime itself, but the fact that it remains unsolved. The Villisca Axe murders remain a ghost story of sorts, a dark chapter in American history that refuses to be forgotten. The town of Villisca, its residents, and those who visit are haunted not only by the violence that occurred, but by the questions that remain unanswered. Who was the killer? Why did they do it? And why has the case never been solved? These are questions that may never be answered, but they continue to fuel one of the most eerie and infamous mysteries of the 20th century. And so, the Villisca Axe murders live on, not just in the pages of history, but in the collective consciousness of those who still wonder, what truly happened that night in 1912? And will we ever know the truth? Thank you for listening to Daily Dose. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and join me next time as we explore more unsolved mysteries, forgotten stories, and fascinating histories from around the world.